Hello, Professor. My name is David Moore. I'm here tonight to discuss the session one reflection. The first question: does your organization believe that risk management is needed and important? Yes, I'm currently in the military and I'm a heavy equipment operator, and everything that we do involves risk management. We need to. We always have something in place for any amount of risk that we take in the military. So, for example, whenever we have drivers, new drivers, or any sort of drivers, any mobility or any training that we conduct, we fill out a risk assessment form. Basically, what this risk assessment form is to it shows how much risk is involved and what the specific risks are. So, and then from there, we have to determine what we need to do to mediate that risk or to bring it lower. So then at the end of this big lengthy form, it'll tell you, well, hey, your risk is red. That meaning like more than likely something bad is bound to happen. Secondly, what we do also is we implement controls on those risks. So by doing that, we have controls to ways to lower the risk. So, for example, if we were going to a shooting range, we would have lane safeties on every lane that was out there to ensure that all the soldiers were performing correctly. Question two: what actions does your organization take formally or informally to reduce these risks and increase the probability of the opportunities? So, like I just mentioned, that's basically what we do. We fill out these formal risk management sheets, and then also informally, we just use common sense. So if we know if something isn't safe, we don't let it happen. Safety is always our number one priority. But with that being said, we also need to know that we also need to complete the mission, whether it's safe or not. Question three: what is the risk tolerance of your organization? So the risk tolerance, it's all dependent on what we're currently doing. Now, if we're deployed into, say, Afghanistan or something like that, we're obviously going to be taking a lot more risk. And we will accept a lot more risk, but we also need to implement more control measures to mediate that risk. Another thing that we do, or the risk tolerance for our organization is normally very high because we like to see what every aspect is and determine how much risk we're willing to take based on what that activity is. So if it's a high priority activity that we need to do, then we're willing to take more risk. Now, if it's a lower level activity that we need to do that isn't so important, it's not going to mess things up from the day to day, then we're usually not willing to take as much risk. Based on the question four, based on the biblical perspective section, what lessons have you learned? Can you glean from Nehemiah's actions with project scope related to risk management? How would you apply it to your daily spiritual life? So I found this to be very informative about in Nehemiah. So I think that it's great that he went out on a limb and with only with faith in God. So basically, God said like, hey, this needs to happen, and without asking any questions or anything like that, he just did it, and he convinced his people to that. And I think that's a good leader too. The Lord put him in charge of rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem, and because he was pre-planning for an attack that may occur. So that's one thing that I think that all of us can take into our daily lives is we always need to be prepared for the worst possible event, and we need to have safety measures and kind of a fallback to go on in case that catastrophic event does happen. Just following in the Lord and following down his path is the key to, never really being wrong. If you follow what he has planned for you, you cannot be wrong. That's going to wrap it up for my session one reflection. Thank you very much. Good night.